Hello YouTube, I'm Wardy and today I'm doing something I've never actually done before. Usually when I do cast, I am live streaming on twitch.tv/Wardy with loads of eyes because, well, who knows why I created that username. But today I'm doing a YouTube exclusive broadcast, or cast. I guess it's just a cast, it's not really a broadcast. So this is a video that's only going to be available on YouTube. Did not happen on my Twitch live stream, though you might have seen it on some other Twitch streams, because it is a match from the INnoVation Masters Katowice server qualifiers, the American server qualifier, if you would like me to be specific. We'll talk a little bit more about that stuff in a moment. But first of all, let's introduce our two players in this epic TvT. To the bottom left-hand side, the Blue Terran, INnoVation. An absolute monster, a machine that maybe hasn't won too much lately. His closest he's come to victory so far towards the end of 2018 was a second place 7-game series against Cyril in Home Story Cup. To the top right-hand side, he has definitely known what winning feels like throughout 2018. With 3 GSL titles, this is Maru. So this is going to be an epic TvT. But I do just want to say quickly before we get into this, if this is something you like, the YouTube exclusive content, please do consider liking, subscribing, or commenting down below. And one thing I do want to hear from you guys down below in the comments is other matches from the IEM Katowice server qualifiers which you would like to see cast. So if you have a preference on one of those matches, you think that was a really cool series, or those are 2 players I really love, let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see what the matches were, although I guess then you might get some spoilers, do check out the link to the Wikipedia page. All of the matches are on there, and I have access to all of those replays, so we're going to be able to cast whatever you guys think would be good. Or even if you just have one particular player that you'd maybe like to see from some games from, do let me know about that as well. But for now, let's really kick off into this game and see what's going to happen in the world of TvT between 2 absolute Korean legends who have really just won so much throughout their time. And I remember the first time these guys played and Maru came in and proxied INnoVation and beat him 4-0 or 4-1 in the, was it the OSL back then, which he then went on to win against Rain. And God, I mean, that was such a long time ago, and yet here he is now, one of the, if not the best Terran player in the world. Of course, INnoVation is still around too, as we'll see. This Reaper Marine Force on the high ground is good. The SUV there did soak a couple of initial hits, using that to try and get a jump up the ramp, as INnoVation is later on his initial expansion. And look at Maru being super greedy. Not only was this a pretty much just straight up a Reaper expand into a reactor, he actually then goes into the fastest third CC I think I have ever seen in TvT. So that's really something a little bit different here. And it will give him a huge lead if he can hold on and not take damage, but obviously there's a lot of tools from INnoVation's side which is likely to be able to get damage done. The factory pumping out Hellions, the Reaper still in production as well, and that starport on the way up now. I mean, these 1-1-1 builds are very dangerous usually, and we see Maru following up into an extra barracks, so he has no intention of a factory just yet. It's going to be very bio-focused, and those bio builds generally are a little bit weaker when you go up against 1-1-1 build orders, because you're playing without the early game power of tanks and Ravens and the Vikings for high ground, and there's just so much potential and utility in those factory and starport units, as the bunker for now will hold on. So sure, so far so good. The high ground of Cerulean Fall making that natural a little bit easier to defend, as the units from INnoVation will back away. So far, INnoVation has not done much. His own natural command center is on its way up and getting in towards that now, morphing it into an orbital. This is generally looking pretty good for him in terms of, okay, at least I've got my economy going. And in the majority of games, I don't think he would mind this all too much, as oops, Reapers actually hop by and jump up in towards this main. Apologies, the Hellions actually didn't expect him to just dive by the bunker like this, but he is going to find some damage, and obviously INnoVation was really desperate to find out, why do you have a bunker? Why are you, what are you trying to hide away from me? And he will see everything, so suddenly great information from INnoVation, who will just about run around the top side with those Reapers, and we'll get one more Marine, maybe that low health SCV. He dove for it, but the Marines were there, and that's the defense. So INnoVation sees what's up. But back at home, I mean, he's getting that Raven, he can start siege tanks, and again, I really believe it's going to be quite difficult for Maru to defend, because his factory, yes, it's on the way up now, but it's going into a reactor. It's not to build siege tanks or anything like that, it's to get the starport on and to build medevacs. So 2 very different styles here so far, as Maru, well, the third CC obviously is giving him that extra mule, but it isn't giving him the worker advantage just yet. Of the few workers that were lost here, lost about 4. INnoVation's lost a couple of SCVs here and there, one of his with that Reaper initially, another one here to a Scout or so, as we'll see him dropping the 3rd CC in location, so that's quite kind of nice. INnoVation knows that Maru has not got any sort of map control until a certain point in the game where Stim and Medivacs kick in, and he kind of roughly, because of his Scout with the Hellions and the Reapers, he knows when that is, so he knows he's safe to build the 3rd out in location, which saves him the time of lifting up that command center and floating it over to the 3rd location, which Maru will have to do, so that's something that will slow down Maru's 3rd base a little bit. Overall, Maru still has that slight edge in the economy, couple of workers here, and obviously the extra mule will go a long way too, and that extra mule has been up for about 2-3 minutes now, in comparison to INnoVation's, whose is just now going to be available as that orbital morphs in. Now, Maru does have the fastest stim pack, and that will generally open up a lot of very aggressive opportunities. And with this Rax floating off to the side, alongside double armory coming down, INnoVation showing us he's going to play a bit of mech, as that scan not going to reveal much. But with the bio on the map, this is where Maru can maybe start to pick INnoVation apart. This is only 1 siege tank at a time at the moment, so the unit count is very limited from INnoVation, and he's already at 6 minutes in trying to defend the 3rd base with just 2 siege tanks, 2 Ravens and 2 Vikings, while also having to defend potential drops in the main, mobility that Maru has in this game with this build order, because of how he opened with the faster bio. It's a style that you just don't usually see in the TvT, so it's definitely a little bit unique. It's definitely a little bit interesting. I'm kind of a fan, though. I'm kind of a fan. I mean, I'm intrigued to see what Maru does with it. I mean, just switching up completely in game 1 of what will be a full best of 3 that we cast here. So either 2 or 3 maps, depending on the scoreline. First Medivacs dive into the natural expansion, though, and already picking their way through a couple of these SCVs. Auto turrets going to come down. I mean, the Vikings as well. What a shutdown by INnoVation. With the auto turrets there, the missile turrets helping, the Vikings picking off the Medivacs. Nothing gained at all by Maru, really. There's no secondary push at the front to maybe grab units or to take a position while the units are out of location for INnoVation, because the rest of his units are just sat back at home. So Maru doesn't really gain much right away here. And for a mech player to already be slaying units like this is kind of nice, because the mech army is efficient, and okay, the bio army does rebuild quite quickly, and you can definitely give it up a little bit more often than you can give up a mech army. But if Maru loses units like that, and he loses the Medivacs as well, remember, it really slows down any sort of attempt to take air control, unless he sacrifices Medivacs, in which case his bio isn't as good. And it just sort of really, it just drags him into this position where he hasn't really done enough. And okay, again, I feel like losing those first 2 Medivacs, not great, but it's survivable. But if his continued drops go like that, that's going to be a real shame, and that's something which he's really going to have to try and stay away from, as these 3 Medivacs around the left side. This is his next attempt to drop. The barracks over here will scout this attack coming in, unless it can just somehow find the way these 3 Medivacs. No, there's no way. It's not enough. There's a little bit of dead airspace there that the barracks doesn't see, but not enough of it, as we're going to be seeing the Vikings, the Ravens, very quick to come over. And I tell you what, with Interference Matrix, he can just stop anything from unloading. Oh no, Maru going to lose 1, 2, and 3 Medivacs as INnoVation flies through with the Vikings. That barrack scout was perfect. He had the minimap awareness to take advantage with it, and boom, INnoVation. That's 5 Medivacs, pretty much full of units that have been slain now for so little lost. If we actually look at the resources lost here, 3,500 to 1,000. Maru has been bleeding units massively. Now, with a bio army, you do have a bit more mobility and map control, and so sometimes you can take a little bit of an extra, faster 4th base. You can see Maru builds his 4th base on location, while INnoVation builds his in the natural. So 2 quite contrasting situations here for the Terran players, as we do see a couple more Hellions popping out. Those 2 tanks still sat down on the low ground, not siege, but I mean, INnoVation's got plenty of sieged up tanks, so he is good to go if an attack comes in. I really start to feel like you can see this missile turret wall. This is how INnoVation says, okay, well, if you are going to break me down, it's probably going to be with drops, etc. So I'm going to commit hard to being sure that you're not going to be able to make that happen. I mean, a lot of the time you see with the mech armies, the Hellion count rises up quite a lot, and you throw a lot of Hellions across the map, and you just throw them away, trying to kill SCVs. INnoVation says no. Instead of building Hellions, I'd rather focus on building tanks and invest into missile turrets to make my army as strong as possible and take away one of the things which is bound to be your absolute strength. You see a few Hellions diving in here, and sure, this is still going to happen, right? And he actually gets a good few SCV kills with it. The issue is he only had about 6 Hellions in total. A couple more just now popped out. So really, that was the only attempt of a run-by we see from INnoVation for the moment, and I imagine he's probably going to try and keep the other Hellions with his army, because you do want something of a buffer for those siege tanks. You don't want to just leave them out on their own. You want to have Hellbats in front, etc. As INnoVation will continue to build the 5th base on the right-hand side, delayed by a single Marine, something Maru is able to see. Now, Maru doesn't think that's the 4th, though, because he hasn't seen the 4th base that was building here. He doesn't know it's floated up here, so that's actually information which Maru is currently missing out on. And with that lack of info, this could be a little bit costly. Bio from Maru coming down the right-hand side. The Vikings and the Raven still up in the skies as well. Liberator on the way through with Raven production as well. He's gone into these bunch of starports. He's going to try and take air control. This is a common play against a mech player, because if you can win the air fight, you can then siege up the Liberators, and the tanks get pushed back and they have to unsiege, and that's when the Bio can stim in and surround. And so that air control can be a way of fighting the strength of the mech army and forcing it to be not quite as powerful, although we do see some 4s being added in here by INnoVation. That's a nice little hit squad of Maru coming in. Boom, cancels that 5th base. Even though this 5th base is so close to the natural and the 3rd, it's still kind of tough for INnoVation to keep it up and to get it up after, if Maru's been persistent over there, delaying it, sending a hit squad over to deal with it. He will re-expand in location, though. Might just want to add a sensor tower on this side. He's already got one up to the top. Sort of surprised we don't see one like right here, just to really get a bit of an idea of any attacks from there. But I guess with this barracks in position, it's not quite necessary. As we see, Maru is going to start moving out towards the center of the map. Now, he has actually an okayish setup, I would say. If you look at the air army units here, it's 2 Ravens to 1 in Maru's favor. He has 5 Liberators against none of his opponent, and he has 14 to 18 Vikings, though he is down an attack, a plating upgrade. So he misses 1 armor upgrade on these Vikings as well, and he is slow on the +1 ship weapons, something INnoVation is already building. Let's see if this is going to matter as we see Marines stimming ahead. Remember, that ground army is going to be very interesting as we see anti-armor missiles striking hard onto the army of INnoVation. Maru will grab that Raven, will go for these Vikings now as well, as the Vikings take it upon each other to try and get some damage dealt. Somehow, though, INnoVation is just completely winning out in the skies despite that anti-armor missile and pressing forwards here. I mean, those Liberators have been pushed back, new ones coming in to replace, but there is just not enough for Maru. INnoVation death pushing through the center as the Vikings will continue to deal so much damage. A 4 just sitting outside of Liberator range, another Viking picked off, and Maru is already in a lot of trouble as INnoVation, obviously, I feel, took a fairly decent position early. I feel fairly decent might be an understatement considering how much damage was done, or how many units were lost, I suppose, because of Maru trying to drop around and being unsuccessful. As we see those tanks continue to fire on the natural expansion. I mean, this is a sieged up position that Maru is unlikely to ever break out of. I mean, Maru had bases coming up around the map. He had the right idea here, but INnoVation comes in just before the army's good enough for Maru. And there's a couple of extra upgrades. Obviously, the ground army being spectacular in comparison to what Maru had. That's just a little bit too much. And INnoVation picks up game 1 of this best of 3. I'll see you guys in a moment in game number 2. Welcome back to game number 2. I know for you guys it's probably just a couple of seconds, but for me it was a couple minutes. Just getting out of the game, back into it, loading up this second map in Port Alexander. It's to the bottom right hand side, up 1 game in the best of 3 series. It's INnoVation. And to the top left, our red Terran. This is a very unsuccessful Maru so far in this series. Something I don't feel like I get to say very much, not because I get to cast Maru a lot anyways, I guess, but very rarely we cast Maru and he throws away 5 medevacs full of units without really doing anything at all. He almost felt, I'd like to say like a little bit desperate in this game, you know? I almost felt like he wanted to just break through a bit too quickly. It was a tough one. He was so desperate to do damage that he only ended up doing damage to himself. Anyways, we'll see what happens in game 2. As for now, gas and racks from both players, and we'll look to see where the expansions come down. Just want to very quickly again take the first minute of this game or so to just make a quick mention as well. Obviously, a lot of you guys watching on YouTube, you probably usually hear, if you're watching my casts that go up on YouTube that come from the stream, I'm usually thanking subs and donations and all of that, and talking about how supporting the stream is awesome and stuff like that. Whatever. If you do like this content, I will say the Patreon page is obviously a great place to check out. It's got some cool benefits and rewards, and it isn't linked to the Twitch stream like donations and subscribing on there is. So if you're liking this content, consider checking out the Patreon, patreon.com/WardiTV, or the link is in the description down below. But don't forget to leave a like and especially a comment, because I do want to know who you would like to see cast in these YouTube exclusive casts. Or maybe you want a format change, maybe you just prefer to see a single map. Let me know. Honestly, let me know what you're thinking, because I'm down to kind of create this and craft these casts into whatever you guys want. Do you want me to go super analytical? Maybe we can take some pauses in the game sometimes and say, hey, well, what should you have done here? We could rewind fights and look at it again. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. And we'll see how this game number 2 right now, though, kicks off as the SUV to the bottom side, patrolling away and dropping down a starport. So starport coming in from Maru. Now as INnoVation just sits a Reaper out the front of the natural, that command center here, building up. So in the end, INnoVation will be the first to expand. He just goes for what is essentially the kind of the safer expansion we've seen lately. We don't see it here. His workers are back in gas, but they were pulled out of gas for a little while, just after the factory, so that he can still afford the Reaper and so on, but he does want to be able to afford that CC on time. Compared to Maru, who keeps with workers in gas all the way through, you can see that he's mined about 100 more gas out of each of his refineries than INnoVation has, or thereabouts. Maybe actually not that much of a difference. But the investment into the starport is definitely something which obviously then takes away minerals and opportunity from Maru in terms of if he wanted to expand. And it obviously means that INnoVation gets his expansion up much faster, but will have to play the defender's position. So it's kind of a complete role reversal from last time. While INnoVation isn't being as extremely greedy, I suppose, as Maru was in Game 1 of Cerulean with that triple CC, he is still the greedier player with that faster expand, and it is down to Maru to do something about that, while his own expansion will start up about 60 to 70 seconds late. Well, not late, but later than INnoVation's. Now this Liberator pops out, so that will head towards the main, as these units on the ground, the 3 Hellenes and the 2 Reapers, they are going to try and poke around in the natural expansion, try and see what they can do in terms of picking off a couple of SCVs or so, as Maru's Liberator coming all the way along the bottom side and is going to get ready to siege up in that main base in the next couple of moments. Here you go, a few Hellions running up here already. I mean, honestly, it doesn't feel like Maru will do much, as the Cyclone here especially will really help to turn this away. The Hellions outrun Reapers as well, and so those Reapers are kind of destined to die unless they can find some ledges to jump down. There goes one of them. Sure, the Liberator is sieged up here, 4 kills and denied mining, but the Raven about to come out, so an auto turret available, another Cyclone popping out, and INnoVation has just kept his units going across the map. So now he arrives on the natural with 2 Hellions and a Reaper, and a Cyclone, versus 1 Hellion and 1 Reaper, and that Hellion goes down quickly. Cyclone locks on from Maru, though, and INnoVation doesn't get the same lock on, so Maru can defend his natural here, as he sends that Liberator number 2 in to try and deal some damage as well. He's already sieged up on the natural for 3 more kills, and he will re-siege here as well. The Liberator will be interference matrix from the Raven, which means that I can't find the Cyclone will kill. But in the main, Maru does get a couple more workers, and all of this lost mining time is really starting to add up here. It's a lot of income lost, gas, not mining properly for a little while as well. And that gives Maru a chance to catch up, and you can see it comes out 29 workers apiece. So not all that bad. The biggest thing I would say if we look at the units lost is, obviously Maru lost those extra Hellions, the Reaper, one of the Liberators is down. This one is obviously going to try and keep on harassing, but is unlikely to deal much more damage as the Cyclones lock in and the Interference Matrix comes on. So it was kind of doomed from the get-go. So Maru is still a couple workers behind here, but his own CC is up and running. I think the biggest thing to take note of at this point is that the army supplies are very similar, because oftentimes if you kind of have this situation where one player does do enough damage to maybe equal up the work count, it's very easy to then forget about, the fact that maybe they lost some army while doing so. I feel like INnoVation's army and Maru's armies are fairly similar at the moment. The biggest difference is going to be those 2 Ravens. And with the double Raven, you have so much energy for Interference Matrix and so on. And Interference Matrix is going to be the spell to really cast in these early stages, or auto turrets, depending on the situation. But the Matrix can help you push into defensive tank locations, such as these 2 here. You pop Interference Matrices down, you can kind of push up, siege up here towards the natural without any fear of those tanks hitting you. So that is a possibility, and that's maybe the one thing here that I look at from INnoVation, say, okay, well, that's really your opportunity right now to maybe get some damage done if you want to do some damage. Maru's actually starting to really commit into a lot of things here. Double Engineering Bay, he's getting his extra barracks up, Stim Pack, 3rd CC. Now these are all things which INnoVation is actually not committing into, and that's why the army supply difference is starting to grow a little bit apart. INnoVation 34 to now Maru's 20. So the fact that INnoVation is obviously, yes, adding production, but he isn't building anything towards upgrades, no armories here, he isn't building a third CC, so he doesn't have the opportunity to throw down that next expansion and to move through in this game. That's kind of tough. It's kind of going to be tough for Maru, I think, because, yes, in Maru holds on and the game continues, Maru is well set up. 5 minutes from now, he'll be, you know, happy, he's got upgrades, command center's economy, and all sorts. But can Maru survive the attack? And that's what I'm going to be questioning. With double Raven that's been building up energy for a while especially, it just gives you that initial push-in that can be so very important. Sky comes down from INnoVation into the main base, and he sees that this is Maru going into 5 racks. He might have even caught the edge of the CC floating out to the third base as well. He's going to come around the bottom. He wants to push up here into position on the natural. You can see just a couple tanks along here and already hit refineries, for example, especially with that air control of the Viking count and a couple of Ravens. He scans again, and oh man, Maru is so spread out for only 2 tanks. 1 tank will siege and try and relocate. As again, INnoVation begins to take this position now. This is going to be really tough. Now, there is Stim Pack, however, from Maru. So with the Stim Pack, I would say there's some possibility, there always is, to maybe get a bit of a surround on this or so. He's actually going to come into the middle, and that might allow him to cut off reinforcements from joining up here. As you can see there, the interference matrix used, and the 2 tanks will get in position, and that's where we're going to be seeing the bio committing in. The interference matrix of Maru went on the go for the Ravens, so now that those Ravens can't do anything, maybe that's the best opportunity as they come out of matrix, or they can fly forwards, throw down auto turrets. Don't even need a matrix here. Just get rid of this army, and INnoVation is going to storm on through and take game 2 and win the series against Maru. GG's and well played. This was from the IEM Katowice 2019 American Server Qualifier winner bracket, round of 8, guys. And again, if you liked the cast, do let me know in the comments down below. Give us a like and consider subscribing. We're definitely thinking of doing more YouTube-only content, and these exclusive casts are just sort of the beginning of that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, any feedback or anything, let me know. What I really hope you guys found was that because this was, again, a YouTube exclusive where it doesn't come out of like a middle of a long 5-hour stream or something, and it doesn't kind of come in with me reading Twitch chat and there's no distractions, I just hope that it was maybe a bit of a better quality cast, because out of all the feedback I've been getting in the YouTube comments, it's all feedback where I'm like, well, I totally get it, but it's so hard to do what you want me to do on a live stream. So I hope maybe that came through a little bit. If again, let me know what you're thinking. Thanks so much for tuning into our first ever YouTube exclusive cast. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys next time.